let's see, I mean, it's pretty much starting off right. DXY is pretty much playing exactly how we wanted. And just in terms of overall, like for example, let's see, let's go off these dailies. So these daily closures, right? They're all looking, honestly, it looks like it really wants to continue. What the hell is going on here? Alright. Pretty much, this looks like it wants to continue. Alright, like, there's so many people, I'm assuming there's a ton of people that see this as a type of, let's say, let's take this out. Alright, this is super annoying. Hold on. I was charging my mouse, but I guess it'll wait. Alright, anyways, right, if you want to see this as the final leg down, because this is the entire corrective structure, right, I don't want you to see this as a break of structure to the upside. For one, because you're overall bearish and that doesn't make sense and you're picking lows. And two, it's like, if that's the assumption you make, then you're obviously only looking at this much of the screen and you're not emphasizing this much of the screen. Like, for example, if you simply can read structure, right, you're bearish. You just need an excuse now to be bearish. For example, here, right, this is only a pullback, right? I don't care if you broke this structure, you're in this overall leg. It doesn't, you cannot justify it, right, until obviously you have any type of invalidation, which that would be, for example, if, you know, this leg fails to create a new low based on here and we actually create a new high, right? That could be seen as a type of bullish break of structure that can have some type of meaning. But it also depends on the type of momentum in play, and, you know, obviously how long these moves take. Like, because even though if we were to see something like this, you're still inside of this, you know, and so it's very hard to try to counteract this type of bias, because it's obviously worked so many times before, right? Low correction, low correction, low correction, right? So anyways, touching up on why this could be the high now, right? There is no way to tell that until you've broken the immediate leg, right? So this is now an overall lower high because we've taken out the previous leg, well, the entire leg, essentially. This would be a major intraday leg, and we've taken this out, we've now taken this out, solidifying this as a lower high in the entire grand scheme of things, right? It can of course always be invalidated, but until it's invalidated, you cannot assume that. So as we start actually diving in, right, remember last week what we said, right, where this, you know, would have been ideally, well, I didn't actually point this out. I said we could see an immediate rise just to this to fall down, and the reason, or pretty much what I originated that from, right, was looking at previous order flow, right? So if we're looking at, right, low, 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 right, upside move, right, now this is your, technically your ST, that mitigated, right, obviously didn't go immediately, right? You see one push here, then you see one last push down, and that's where the full move goes. So theoretically, there is an SC inside of here, right? So in order to continue bullish order flow, you'd like to react from here and continue higher, right? But, right, as you can see, that was immediately broken, right? And so this, right, this used to mean not just a type of break of structure, even though we didn't break structure, right? This to me is now, or what I'm calling now, is a disruption of order flow, because it doesn't make sense for this to now continue higher, and if it does, it's an unsustainable move because there is no liquidity, there is nothing driving that higher or lower depending on the scenario. So I see that as a disruption of order flow, right? Even though this gave us that full reaction, this reaction is unsustainable over time, doesn't matter how slow or fast it is, right? Because it did not mitigate anything. So as you can see, the only reason why this reacted to the upside was only to mitigate something else so that we could continue lower, right? Because liquidity is our essential fuel to continue. So, right, even though that was the case though, right, I'll probably speak more of this on EU actually. Yes, I will. It looks a lot better on EU. But anyways, right, as you can see, after that reaction back up here to the H4 POI, right, you have that continuation flag pattern here, unwillingness, break of structure, you now take out the full leg, you are now full on bearish. What happens from there, right? See high, low, low. This is the discount that we talked about, the premium that we talked about. This was the second entry to my EU long, and this was actually a premium, which then lower, and you're targeting your equal lows, which were there, right? But honestly, if you're going to break these equal lows, you're going to break this full on leg. But as you can see, we actually come into a halt because of that H4 wick here. Right, so as you can see, this wick took out liquidity, right, and created upside move, never mitigated back, came to mitigate, gave a reaction. This would have been a potential re-entry, technically. So it really just doesn't make sense for this to continue higher, right, because you're obviously bearish now, right? You now have a potential pullback if we can sustain below this previous low. That will pretty much solidify that high, and this should continue lower, right? Personally, I didn't want this to continue lower just yet. I would have actually wanted for, obviously here, right? If you're looking at structure, let me delete all this. Okay, so if we're looking at structure here, right, this is obviously the leg we just talked about here, premium, right, execution here, right? So in order for a pullback to start on a bearish, what is considered probably a minor intraday leg or major intraday, up to you. In order for me to consider a pullback, right, you need the initial level of structure to break, right? Last high, they created a low, that was broken here, right? So you're now inside of this range here, this range here, this range here, intent, right? So now you have your bearish break of structure, right, on top of this bearish break of structure, on top of this bearish break of structure, on top of, the overall break of structure. I'm not going to show you guys that. You guys know. All right, so it's now supporting the entire bias, and I personally would have wanted to clear this. Right, I would have wanted something like that, but obviously, as you can see here, this is starting to roll over. So it becomes very uncertain for London session to me, because I don't want London session to do something like that, because then this would be considered, let me delete all this stuff again. Right, this would then now be considered your new leg, right, if this breaks this new low. So if anything, that would be what you would want theoretically. But the thing too you have to consider is that this could potentially mitigate something here, right? And if this potentially mitigates something here, that's now an unwillingness, which can lead to an even deeper pullback, right? So you just have to be essentially dynamic with whatever you're presented with, and you have to essentially play off that reaction. But yeah, overall, made a lot of sense. We called it to the T pretty much. And so yeah, like for example here, right, I didn't make the markups for EU because I was going to discuss it today, so I just thought that was alright. As far as, right, EU, right, this is what we had mentioned, right? We had the open of this candle here be tapped, right? The open of the candle caused a very nice reaction, right around, well, this actually happened at 8 p.m. This actually happened in Asian session. Weird. But anyways, right, this reaction caused the initial minor intraday break of structure here, right? But keep in mind, you're still technically bearish here, right? So you need an incentive, you need intent to want you to want, to obviously take that trade. So in order for me to be fully bullish, the entire leg needs to be taken out, right? So the entire leg is here, right? So as you can see, right, you came back, right? And this is also a reason why I don't teach complex pullbacks. For example, here, right here, and here, right? This is technically you're still full on bearish, right? But as you can see, you got a reaction here, a bearish reaction, right? But the thing is, to me, this break of structure immediately invalidates this entire swing leg, to me, because I'm overall bullish, and now I just have my excuse to continue bullish, which is why I was bullish. I mean, I had an entry here, right? So the thing now, right, is that will this high be taken out? And this is the entire full leg. And as you can see, that was taken out, immediately reacted from, right? Essentially creating a type of liquidity grab with that break of structure there, right? But because we took the entire leg here, right, I see that as an overall break of structure, right? So, right, I'm looking for that discount, right? Honestly, I remember I told you guys I wanted somewhere here first. I wanted to see if this would give us a liquidity grab, and then other POI would be this deeper discount. So when you're zooming in, not necessarily into the POIs, just looking at right here, right, low, high, well, you can consider that a lower high, a low high, right? Your final low here came into the POI. So, right, it's just something I enjoy seeing, right? This is the setting climax principle that we always talk about, whereas you see in a type of setting climax, quote unquote, you see high volume, right? Because naturally, if this continues lower, then it's all diminishment, right? So that's a very good sign off the bat to see, right? Because the initial POI didn't show anything like that. So all you need is a reason to risk, right? So actually, let's do this. Right, so, right, we already had that setting climax type of move, so all of this is naturally diminishment. All you need is an excuse to want to risk and take long positions. So obviously there's that POI that I showed you, the H1 wick. Right, as you can see, right, we have our essentially our high to our low here, so it's still technically bearish, right? But I'm playing based off the POI. So the microstructure has been taken out here, but the overall scalp structure was actually taken here, right? So the reason why I call that a break of structure, not a liquidity grab, is because this didn't mitigate anything. So to me, this, even if it's not a break of structure to liquidity grab, I consider that a disruption, because this high of the wick did not mitigate anything, right? If you would have mitigated from here, okay, yeah, then bearish order flow is still in play, and the scenario is a lot more improbable. But because this reacted from no essential, POI, right, it shows to me this could be a potential unsupported move, and there's a reasoning behind why it's still getting lower, right? So as I'm looking through here, right, I usually look through my 1 minute, 3 minute in between that, right? As you can see here, my M2, right, my POI is off the bat, right? Because this is so fast, it leaves an inefficiency, right? So naturally my first POI is here, and my second POI is this here, right? And you guys obviously know why I chose the wick, because that wick leads to that, obviously, that bullish breaker structure with micro breaker structure here and the scalp disruption. So, right, naturally you can either take a position from the inefficiency and have about a 3.5 pip stop, or, right, you can continue to zoom in, right? And I actually took my position based on the M2 open. I mean, yeah, the M2 open, right? But this naturally came down to that 30-second inefficiency there. right, with a 2 pip stop there, right, as you can see, and it came back to that inefficiency on 30 seconds to the T, right? So because we got this reaction here, and we now have another bullish break of structure, right? What does it signify? Bullish order flow, right? So we're not in the clear in terms of the overall position, but this just shows validity in the POI and the fact that, you know, we got the reaction from it, so we're now break even. So, right, where are you aiming for? Right, obviously your overall target, you know where your overall target is at that high up here, right? That's your that's your first swing target, because we're overall bullish. That's your first swing target, which is already a 72 to 1 based on that 2 pip stop, right? So, and the cool thing is that that stop could have been even more smaller, right? It could have easily been below the 30-second inefficiency, right? And as you can see, that exponentially grows your RR, right? But we care more for realism, not just high RR, right? So that execution, I'm extremely happy with it, right? And as you can see, that obviously hit target down the road. But right, here's the thing that you have to acknowledge. Right, is that this, after this reaction, we're still bearish, because obviously this isn't a liquidity grab here, right? This is a bearish break of structure. So in order for this to be correct, the overall direction has to be correct, right? And this is why I don't want to trade, you know, any type of bearish legs in a fully bullish market, because as you can see, right, you could obviously consider this leg here, right? And this would be the leg you're playing with. You have corrective structure, inducing selling momentum. And you could even call this a bearish break of structure, right? But as you can see, that failed. Why? Because you're not bearish, right? Which is why I haven't sold EU in a very, you know, in a couple weeks, right? Because you can't justify it. It doesn't make sense, right? So you need a catalyst to want to, you know, take this long, even though this is a risky buy position, technically, because I'm trying to pick a low, right? It's not full confirmation, right? As you can see, we have the inducement here, the actual optimism, the real, you know, bullish optimism here. Why? Because we've already shown the corrective nature inducing the sellers, and that's already been proven wrong. So when you're in this type of scenario, there's two things that's going to happen, or that could happen. Either one, you're going to sustain yourself, or two, you're just going to wick down. Right? If this was gonna wick down, this would have just, you know, came right back down. And you guys know what I mean by wick down, where you see just long wicks in one direction, right? But as you can see, that's not what happened. Price sustained itself, right? Gave that bearish break of structure, right? But gave no true downside, which, you know, created this corrective nature. And obviously, based on momentum rules, right? Low created a high, right? You're essentially your equilibrium there, looking for a premium, right? And as you can see, there's a wick here that just, you know, obviously shot down before it went up. We obviously came back to mitigate that, right? And here's why I haven't really been breaking down the POIs if it's already a small POI. That's because you guys know I don't really like to take the trades based on the POI alone. But when you're essentially breaking it down, you're trying to refine your entry, find an SC inside of an SC, you always have to consider your overall POI, right? This POI is only 5 pips big, you know, so it's not really the worst, right? But when you go into these smaller time frames, right, you'll see POI number 1, POI number 2, POI number 3, or POI number 4 here, right? So that's why I like to prefer more to try to play based on reactions rather than try to pick that exact low. You know, because at the end of the day, you want to be correct in terms of bias, execution, management, but we don't have to be correct about specifically finding your entry to the pipette, right? You more so just want to be correct, which is why I'm a lot more conservative now these days, which is why, like I told you, I don't sell EU. I can't justify it. I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable with taking that risk. So as we're coming into these smaller time frames, right, as you can see, right, high, they created the low, immediately reacted from. So what does that signify? that this is a liquidity grab. Liquidity grab created bullish breaker structure inside of your POI, right? So, right, like I said, I go through my time frames here. Immediately after that reaction, right? So here, automatically after the reaction, right, there is no candle that is too appealing to me. Right here off the bat, cool. Now you see a candle, right, that follows the SC rule of takes out liquidity, and it follows the rule of giving you an impulsive move to the upside. Okay, so this is my first point of interest. All right, cool. So now, as I'm zooming into my time frames, right, I'm obviously, I don't know why it does this, but the open is actually there. The open is here, right? As you can see, 244. Yeah, this is the open. I don't know why it does that, okay? But anyways, right, that would be my entry. But I'm also considering the fact that this could be another POI, right? So my execution, my SL is below that, right? But if you want to be a bit more conservative, you could obviously put it below this potential inefficiency fill there, right? And you could have even stretched this out to 3.5 pips. Right, but me, I put it below that candle. Why? Because if there was inefficiency here and there, right, then I would consider this to be a type of fulfillment of that. And let's see if there's actually something in there. Okay, yeah. No, you see, yeah. So there would have been potential inefficient pricing there. But for the most part, I'm seeing this push down, then I'm seeing this wick down to the move up. So honestly, my entry, my SL would have at least covered this wick here, because I would have been very uncertain if that wick would have tapped or not. So yeah, I'm still very, comfortable with that. And as you can see, let me actually go to 1 minute. Right, so just like the other scenario, right, we're technically picking a low here, even though we're playing based off of POI. Right, so this is your high, this is your low, right, this is your pullback, right, but because we're bullish now, because we reacted from this bullish POI, right, and gave a reasonable stretch, right, this bearish break of structure here is only the pullback of this new impulse, right, which now creates that upside move, right, which is why I don't like trailing my stop, after every new low that's created, right. So, for example, here, right, if I'm trying to move my stop per se, right, I'm already to the point where I'm break even because we took out the previous high, right? So we now have this, right, this low with this high, this low with this high, right? So, or technically this high. So as soon as this is essentially breaking, my SL would probably be here. That's what's more reasonable, is pretty much the structural range before the current one that you're in. So, right, as you can see here, right, this full leg, pullback, another leg here, or my SL would have been below that. Right, so I would be super conservative with that. Because you don't want to be, stopped at break even here just for this to that moon. Right, and as you can see, that trade there hit the previous hit the previous high there. Well, actually eyeballed that. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, pretty much eyeballed that. That's crazy. But yeah, anyways, right, that's essentially the whole case for EU. And because we've essentially given these very strong closures, right, tomorrow's closure is extremely crucial. Right, if we see a bearish structure there, a bearish closure there, then we could either see a premium here or even potentially a type of bearish fall-on break of structure. So I want to see this be a bullish candle, just because I want to continue, obviously this here, right? Whereas we're still bullish here. Right, so it doesn't make sense. I can't justify selling this, it just doesn't make sense. Let's see. GU, as you can see here, still, mooning here. right? Just makes all the sense in the world. Obviously, entries from here, or actually entries here, right? Still just makes so much sense in you know, just an overall scale. Why? Because this is only the effect. It's only the effect of this range here, the schematic that we're technically in play in right now, right? So just the same thing that's happening here is happening here, you know. But yeah, other than that, do you guys have any questions? Right, GUEG, the same thing as usual. EU, that's the whole case there. Yeah, other than that, GU is up about a couple hundred pips. Thoughts on gold? I haven't looked at it. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I really want to see this lower, but man, this is irritating. I can't believe it did this at the time that it did this. Right, waiting for this entire low, this low to be cleared. Right, it pretty much cleared. I believe like on Asian session last week. Yeah, I did. Right, so as you can see there, that's the bullish wick structure creating that liquidity grab. So now I'm pretty intrigued to see if we're gonna break this high. If we break this high, we're full on bullish, you know. But I still would have wanted to see something lower. But yeah, I mean, if EU takes that bullish run, then I don't see why this shouldn't. And you decided to go to Mars? Fuck. Yeah, I did. In the past 4 hours, went up 30 pips. Crazy. Yeah. See, Sergio caught that reaccumulation here. The pullback on what? Oh, on gold. That's crazy. That's crazy there. I've noticed gold doesn't like to do that type of entry thing that we like to do. Yeah, like for gold, I would have probably entered after that closure there if I was watching this. Yeah, you can see that there, the micro break structure there. Micro break, retest there. That's so annoying. That's extremely annoying. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? Anything? Actually, I don't have seconds time. Yeah, it'd be like that. It's okay though. You don't need seconds time frames to excel, if I'm being honest. The 30 seconds is a good one, but other than that, USD. That looks like that wants to go back up. Yeah, actually, let me break this down. Nope. Yeah, as you can see here, high bearish volume, selling climax principle. Anything below that is only a unsupported move. Bullish break of structure, discount, reaction. That's interesting. This one, man, somebody tell this one to die. Doesn't want to die. And we've shown unwillingness, more unwillingness. Please. I don't know. I don't have any money in cryptos. I don't like. I still don't see the I don't see the the reasoning. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. Like, what about this one that everyone's used to talk about? Doge. Oh wow. Yeah, definitely profit taking. And all of these people are being annoying with Elon Musk. Like, when did Elon buy BTC? Does it say at what does it say at what price he bought? He bought at 58K? Damn. Dang, he actually bought at 58K? There's no way he actually bought it at 58K. I don't believe that. Is that true? No, he didn't buy at 58. He caused the 58. Yeah, no, he didn't. That doesn't make sense. That's a rise of about 65%. This did not explain how you get there. So did he buy around 35K? That sounds a whole lot more. That sounds a whole lot more, reasonable. He bought at 35K. Yeah, but no. It's not publicized at what price, but you can tell by when he bought it, Action is another. Yeah, it doesn't say when, but I think 30. Yeah, I think 35 is super reasonable. Yeah, that's super reasonable. And like, people are stupid. Like, like this just shows like just how stupid people are. Like they say that he lost how many billion? A cut like $15 billion. But I'm like, bro, he didn't lose $15 billion. He is down $15 billion, which means he hasn't closed, but he is still in profit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you see 38K, bro. Like, people are retarded. Like, I think one of the best skills you can ever learn is just learn how to simply read a chart. Yeah, people are stupid. Yeah, people are stupid, man. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, do you guys want to talk about anything? Do you guys want to discuss something? Or do you guys want to just end it off there? I mean, everything today played out pretty much exactly how I wanted it from last week. So I guess there isn't really too much to say. But yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, we can end it off here. Cool, cool. Amazon, yeah. That's actually a dope trade, bro. That recovered a lot today, though. This could easily start pulling back. The thing is, I don't like shorting stocks. It's just not my thing. It's like the same thing with dollar. I don't want a long dollar, you know? But yeah, we can end it off there.